My name is Michael Resch and I'm the director of the High Performance Computing Center Stuttgart, HLRS. I think the first thing that is important is that the cloud is not the continuation of the grid. The cloud is something completely different. The grid was very much focused on sort of moving out of HPC and reaching out. The cloud is more coming from a community that has a much better understanding of how to handle thousands, hundreds of thousands of users of providing services that are sort of packaged, sort of encapsulated. So cloud technologies are completely different from what we had in mind when we started thinking about the grid and then moving HPC into a broader community. What we have done over the last 20 years is we moved sort of HPC to small and medium-sized enterprises and also to larger industries. And this has worked out as long as, say, the price for hardware was relatively high, so hardware was the main issue. Now that software is getting more and more important, meaning that the CPU core, for example, 1 hour of a CPU core is 2 euros, and so that's cheap, that's nothing. You have to compare this to like 50 euro for a CPU core hour in 1995. It's only within like 20 years that we have reduced the price of a CPU core from 50 euro to 2 cents. That's a factor of 2,500. The software costs are still high. And what happens now is that people are no longer interested in a pure access to some kind of performing system or high performance system. They're more interested in a solution. And the cloud technologies have certain solutions which they developed in a completely different environment. We have to keep in mind that the environment in which the cloud was developed was more an environment of a very big number of small jobs. And these small jobs are, say, irrelevant enough to not require too much security, to not require too much issues of reliability. And therefore we have pretty stable solutions in the cloud field. We can, rather than us trying to convince a huge market to adapt our solutions, what we can do is we have a huge market and we can adapt their solutions to our requirements. That is a much easier task because the bulk work, the bulk financial effort is coming from a huge community for which this is extremely important. And that's why we at HLRS, we figured that by cloudification we can probably extend the reach of our supply or of our support or of our services, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises, because their problem is that everything should be packaged. Easy, simple, should be packaged, and they don't want to deal with all the details because they don't have that knowledge. Still, they need some knowledge, so we have to do a lot of education and training there. So the strategy is twofold. It is on the one hand to adapt and adopt cloud technologies, and on the other hand, it is to do training, to actually train those people who are in desperate need of solutions, but although they are very skilled, they're very focused on their solutions that they provide to their own customers. But it's not part of their skill set to deal with cloud computing. So I hope that when we leverage this solution space of cloud with our training and education activities and with the hardware that we can provide, that we're able to create solutions for small and medium-sized enterprises. I still think that they will need some support, because an HPC system is still a special system. You will never be able to completely hide all the complexity, but I think we will make a huge step forward by cloudification, and that's what is important for us. What we typically have on our systems is a usage that is in the range of 85%. Going higher than 85% for a supercomputing system is extremely difficult because you have medium-sized and large jobs, and you always have these small pockets of cores that are not used in the system. 64 here and 128 there or something like that. When we did the movie for this small company, Mark 13 in Stuttgart, we were able to fill all these gaps. And for these 3 or 4 months when we did all the pictures of the movie, our usage was going up to 98, 99%, which is, I would have said, like 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said it's absolutely impossible. You cannot operate a system. But we did not increase the waiting time for our research users. We rather filled all the small gaps with these pictures, and they ran perfectly well. hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of very small jobs, and the research users did not even realize that. It was the other way around. They were saying now things are better, because in June, July last year they were complaining, so we sort of tailored the queuing system slightly to reduce waiting time, and then they did not even notice that there was this a huge set of small jobs. They did not even realize it, and our usage went up to unbelievable, incredible 98, 99%.